Welcome back to our latest Grim Shadows Explainer. Today, we are venturing far beyond the relatively safe borders of the dreaming empire of Dor. We're going to uncover the fiercely independent, highly dangerous, and honestly, deeply misunderstood faction known as the Dragon Lords. Listen, if you've heard the rumors of towering, fire-breathing warriors clad in absolutely impenetrable plate armor, well, you are in the exact right place. Let's get into it. All right, let's quickly map out today's explainer. We'll be covering 1. The volcanic frontier, 2. Clans of flame and scales, 3. Clashing with the empire, 4. Infantry, magic, and dragons, and finally, 5. A precarious strategic balance. Starting right off with Section 1, the volcanic frontier, an intimidating homeland. We begin our journey in the active volcanic mountain range situated directly to the west of Marhollow. Now, this is a treacherous, completely unforgiving region, but one that is incredibly rich in gems, metals, and untamed danger. I mean, this isn't exactly a place you just stumble into for a weekend hike, right? It's literally a natural fortress that has insulated the Dragon Lords from the outside world for centuries. And to fully grasp who they are, we have to bust a major myth. A really common misconception among the uninformed is that the Dragon Lords are just, human soldiers wearing some fancy, elaborate suits of draconic armor. But the reality? Oh, it's way more intimidating. We're talking about an independent species of intelligent dragon man standing 6 to 7 feet tall. They are heavily scaled, they have tails, and they are massive carnivores packing some deadly natural advantages. I mean, even if you manage to completely disarm one, a dragon man can still breathe fire at short range and literally use their sheer body weight to crush an opponent. So yeah, good luck disarming a 7-foot fire-breathing tank. Take a look at this biological breakdown. You can see the more common scale colors here: green, black, white, and red. Gold is undeniably the rarest of the bunch. But here is the fascinating twist. While gold is the rarest scale color, it doesn't actually grant any political, magical, or religious authority in their society. None at all. A golden dragon man is definitely a rare sight, sure, but their color won't instantly make them a ruler or some elite dragon rider. In this society, pure merit, immense physical strength, and intense clan loyalty are what dictate your standing, not just the genetic lottery of your scale color. Moving right along to Section 2, Clans of Flame and Scales, Internal Divisions. Let's see how this intense biology builds into their political landscape, which, spoiler alert, is anything but unified. The Dragonlands are completely fractured into these fiercely competitive, highly territory-hungry, sovereign broods. So you might be wondering, how do they not just completely destroy each other? Well, to understand that, we have to look at their faith. Despite their endless clan rivalries, constant border skirmishes, and extreme xenophobic isolationism, they are spiritually anchored by a shared worship of the great Drake spirit. Now, the exact nature of this entity, whether it's an actual god, maybe the very first dragon, or just an ancestral power, remains a bit of a mystery to outsiders. But what we do know for sure is its absolute central place in Dragonman culture. It provides this powerful shared identity that transcends all their petty clan borders. And here is where things get really crucial. While clans fight endlessly amongst themselves for resources and territory, they are definitely not blind to outside threats. An invading force will trigger a highly unique political mechanism, the ascension of a High King, known as the Lord of Flame and Scales. Basically, when the Dreaming Empire or any other invader pushes just a little too far, this High King has the ultimate authority to unite the entire fractured realm into a single terrifying army. Which brings us to Section 3, Clashing with the Empire, the immovable object versus unstoppable force. This is their primary geopolitical conflict, a really bitter, brutal resource war fueled by the Dreaming Empire of Dor. Dor has this massive, insatiable appetite for the volcanic metals and rare gems hidden beneath the Dragonlands. And, well, they have a terrible habit of just breaking treaties to get them. Look at this quote for a second, because it perfectly captures the Dragon Lord perspective. To the Dragon Man, every single Dorian mining expedition that crosses their border isn't some harmless civilian enterprise or a group of peaceful explorers. No, it's viewed as a direct act of aggression, aimed at stealing the very resources that fuel the Dragonmen's legendary forges. Because Marhollow relies so heavily on those specific volcanic materials for its combat alchemy and military production, the Dragon Lords know exactly what's happening. The ore stolen today is going to be forged into the Dorian swords they have to face tomorrow. So, seeing this intense level of hostility, you're probably thinking, how on earth does such a closed off, xenophobic society interact with the outside world at all? If they despise doors so much, why do we actually see them outside their mountains? Well, the answer lies in their highly sought after mercenaries and gladiators. Dragonmen naturally speak both their native tongue and Common Dorian, which allows them to take lucrative contracts abroad. And this creates a bizarre, almost unbelievable irony. More Hollow, the exact same city that constantly invades the Dragonlands for ore, absolutely worships Dragonmen champions in its fighting pits. I mean, the last three Grandmaster champions of Moorhollow's lethal Crimson Arena were all Dragonmen. It's such a strange duality, right? Celebrated as ultimate warriors in the arena, but treated as mere obstacles out on the frontier. Let's dive into Section 4, Infantry, Magic, and Dragons, the military might. We're zooming right down into the battlefield now to understand exactly why the massive dreaming empire of Dor hasn't been able to simply steamroll these volcanic mountains. Just what makes the Dragon Lords so formidable? Their core military composition is terrifyingly simple, yet incredibly effective. The Dragonmen are perhaps the finest heavy infantry in all of Tantalon. Thanks to their massive size and raw strength, they can wear incredibly thick plate armor forged by their master smiths. And they combine this close combat dominance with inherent fire magic, completely bypassing the need for standard ranged weapons. In fact, they are notoriously poor archers. But hey, to be fair, when you can literally spit fire or cast devastating dragon fire magic from the front lines, carrying a bow and arrow feels a bit redundant, doesn't it? And then, of course, there are the dragons themselves. But scratch whatever standard fantasy tropes you might be familiar with, because dragons are not domesticated livestock here. They aren't born in stables and just handed out to soldiers. Becoming a rider requires surviving an absolutely brutal three-step process. First, a dragonman actually has to hunt a wild dragon in its treacherous volcanic habitat. Second, they have to physically capture the beast. And third, they must bring it under command using some highly specialized, closely guarded magic. Because of that crazy process, this number right here is absolutely critical. A few dozen. That represents the total estimated count of dragon riders in existence within the Dragonlands. Because the capture process is so incredibly lethal and difficult, successful riders are ultra rare. They aren't standard cavalry, they are strategic assets. Think of them like deploying a heavy bomber to a medieval battlefield. They don't just idly patrol borders, they are deployed only when a mission is absolutely undeniably vital. And when these rare riders actually do deploy, the visual impact is just stunning. Their master smiths ensure that the rider's heavy plate armor perfectly matches their captured beast's scales. So, a red dragon carries a rider in red plate, a black dragon carries a rider in black plate. This incredible synergy creates a unified, terrifying aerial formation that instantly shatters the morale of any neighboring army unlucky enough to see them blotting out the sun. Finally, let's look at Section 5, a precarious strategic balance, surrounded by enemies. Zooming back out from the battlefield for a moment, we really need to realize that the dreaming empire of Dor is far from the only threat on their borders. The Dragon Lords are fighting a massive, multi-directional war for survival. They are locked in a relentless, multi-front conflict. Just look at the map. To the north, they are constantly fending off these aggressive orc tribes. Then they also clash periodically with the northern dwarves, who are not only competing for prime mountain territory and precious ore, but are their only real rivals in the entire world when it comes to master-level smithing. Add the deeply mysterious Enders of Mistfall to the mix, and you have a faction that is constantly forced to divide its attention and its military resources.
Furthermore, any prolonged military campaign they undertake becomes a quartermaster's absolute worst nightmare due to their strict biology. We're talking 100% meat, 0% grain. Dragonmen eat only meat. This is a staggering logistical hurdle. While a Dorian legion can comfortably march for weeks on grain and hardtack, a Dragonmen army, or even a small mercenary company operating abroad, requires massive, constant supplies of meat. It's just a fundamental biological requirement that makes long, drawn-out sieges outside their homeland incredibly difficult to sustain.
So, as we wrap up today's explainer, we really have to look to the future and ask ourselves a pretty terrifying question. The dreaming empire of Dor just keeps pushing the boundaries, stealing ore, and breaking treaties. Will this constant poking of the bear ultimately trigger the Lord of Flame and Skills to permanently set aside all those internal clan feuds? Because if Dor pushes too far, they might just forge these divided, fire-breathing clans into a united army, creating Tantalon's absolute greatest nightmare. It's an incredibly delicate balance out there on the frontier, and quite literally, one wrong move could set the entire western border ablaze.